The basic income is $400 a week. Somewhere you lose that $400 a week from your current income, so you're still earning $1,000 a week. So there's no change in people's income to begin with, except for obviously people on Centrelink and low income.
So there had to be a cut off somewhere.
Well, that's a negative income tax, I believe.
No, you just swap it straight up. Everybody gets their money, and you.
Yeah, well, so there's many different ways of implementing it. A negative income tax was one of the earlier forms. That I think your model is a negative income tax, isn't it? And the Pirate Party?
They're mathematically equivalent. One is whether the government's giving you money each week and then like taxing you a lot, and the other one is like whether they're returning taxes at the end of the tax year or something like that. It's essentially the same thing: negative income tax and basic income.
Because no, it's within a certain bracket. It's bracketing though. It's not fully unconditional.
Well,
that's why there's a budget discrepancy there.
There's a lot of different models, but most of them like rely on an idea that you have a base level of income, and then you have a tax rate, and usually it's flat. In most people's conception of what you do, it's flat. I'm in favour of a flat model, but when you're talking about a flat model, you probably don't want to go above 50% taxation. Otherwise, you get problems with investment. And so when you go to that high level, like up to that point, it's still quite a bit of a shortfall. But yeah, it's mathematically equivalent.
But politically different.
Yeah.
Yes. It's about sell, isn't it?
Yes. Unfortunately, that's the main fight we have at the moment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so the one negative thing that's brought up by a friend of mine actually doesn't live here, but one thing that nobody's considered, and I think not even Carl Whittaker, is this. Okay, I have the luxury of being an intellectual property creator, so I'm not as worried. But for everyone else, okay, so you mentioned that Carl said, let's just assume that everything's being private. I think one of you guys said, let's assume everything's being bought up, privatized, taken, whatever. The danger of a basic income is that this could be all a lot of people are left with. Like, this is their only source of income. Everyone is stuck on a pins. So now we have new feudalism, right? That's something that's worth thinking about.
Yeah. You know, I have worked in the welfare system for over 50 years, right? We see people suspended for 8 weeks with nothing. Yes. We see people knocked off benefit on the most obscure, stupid reasons. I've talked at the highest levels of Centrelink on one day about one case and got from the 6 senior officers who are capable of dealing with it 6 different decisions. You know, I mean, a basic income rules all that out.
Good on you. Yes. That's the point.
Hello, my name's Michael. I'm a community worker, and you guys are a bunch of scientists. This is a new concept to me, basic income, and I've just been getting my head around it tonight, but there's a couple of thoughts that come into my head.
You jumped right into the deep end.
That's cool, I learn stuff every day. So there's a couple of things that just come into my mind immediately, like what incentivizes basic income? I mean, like, when I immediately think of it, it's something that you can subsist off of, but you're looking at a passive populace that's going to basically live off a basic income. Like, I mean, there needs to be some kind of exchange. And I'm hearing all these ideas about, different projects where you contribute to society, where you actually use the free time that's been enabled to you by having the basic income. But I think that it could also make a whole bunch of people sedentary as well. So, I mean, that needs to be considered too. The other thing as well that comes to mind is that idea that if you pay so much and everything goes into debt, like, to recover that, what contracts, Like, does that mean there's going to be, like, a rolling back of public works, smaller government? What does that mean? Like, to me, it just seems like if you're going to introduce something like that, it's got to offset something else economically.
So I can quickly address the first one. That's the number one response that a lot of people have to a basic income is what's going to stop people from quitting their jobs and doing nothing. Primarily, So first thing is just about every formulation of a basic income is not going to be a luxurious lifestyle. They will all be quite low. So what that means is you're going to at least want to work part-time. Nearly everyone will want to have a nice life, because no one wants to have a scrape-by life. Some people will be happy to, and that'll be their choice. Maybe those people will become the innovators. That was the argument I was making tonight, was that the freedom to not have to work to subsist gives you a lot of scope to explore and to innovate. And as I said at the beginning, this is by no means a core principle in basic income. This is just an extra bonus that comes along. But the arguments for it around work, people don't just work to exist. They work to give themselves meaning. They work to socialize. They work because they want to produce things. They work because they have a vocation, their interest. There's lots of reasons people work. This just decouples the need to work. This decouples working from surviving. That's the big difference. Where's the money come from in terms of, so if all this money's being paid into this, what gets smaller? The answer to that is manifold. You can increase taxes. One suggestion is increasing land tax to pay for it. So you don't need to necessarily cut back from government expenditure. You don't need to make government smaller to afford this. You can increase taxes on those that have the most privilege and the most power to pay the people that are the least well off and in the most poverty. I had a few other thoughts. I think I've lost them.
Can I just jump in there? Hi, Michael. You said that, just to answer one of your questions, you said there needs to be some sort of exchange. Ever since Greece, there's been an upper class and a lower class, like a servant class and then a ruling class. So in Greece, you had you had all these great ideas come out. You had democracy, you had the Hippocratic Oath, both philosophy and medicine, and all these things came about because there was an upper ruling class that didn't have to work. And they had a slave class. We have that now, and it's called the third world, and that's where all our clothes and stuff and cars get manufactured, but that's rapidly being eroded by robots. And with robots, there doesn't actually need to be an exchange. And I think that's the big dramatic shift that happens, is that they're not sentient beings that are working, that need to get paid or anything. They can produce things for nothing. But if 1% of the population control the robots and they make us work for it when they're not putting anything in, there is no exchange. And that's why we need a universal basic income, is to redistribute the means to buy those products so that we can still keep the kind of lifestyle and stuff that we need.
Response to that, also frameworks. It's an economic myth that in order for one to gain, someone has to lose. That's very poor economics.
Yes.
Economics is about creating synergy, so that it overcomes scarcity. And the universal basic income citizens dividend would be designed in such a way to increase that synergy. Just to give you a glimpse of why it is affordable, I'll share with you a story I had in the Philippines. There was an electric co-op that was about to be taken over by a corporation. They scared the people by saying, "Oh, do you know that your electric co-op owes the government $10 million? Of course, if you're a subscriber, you'd be afraid. So the corporation says, "Let me pay you $50 so that you don't have that headache anymore." They were about to say yes, and I said, "Okay," because they asked me, "Is that a good deal?" So I put my investment banking hat on. But I decided to work in the grassroots at the time. So I said, "Okay, you owe the government 10 million. How much are your assets?" About 25 million. 25 million.
Oh my God.
25 million minus 10. Oh, 15 million. 15 million. Okay, how much is he offering you? $50. How many subscribers are you? 50,000. So that's like 2,500,000, right? How much was the net worth we talked about? 15 million. So you're going to give the corporation 12.5 million for free. And then I go, let's look at the balance sheet. Look at your land assets. How much is it in your books? Well, they give a price. When was the last time it was valued? Oh, 1978. Oh, that's when there was a war going on, and so real estate values were really depressed. And now you've recovered, and okay, so how much did it cost? Actually, $5 million was the value of the land. And so that's probably easily 10 times. So add the 50 million to the 15, 65. You're giving them that additional thing. Now there are huge chunks of wealth like that going on around. That's why do you think corporations like to privatize? Because they will acquire these assets bargain basement prices. And when they're revalued by the banks, they can borrow against them based on their true market worth. And the wealth goes to them and is taken away from you, when that wealth could have been used to address your needs. Do you see the confidence game here going on? Can you see the swindle? And that's what I'm talking about when I say the problem is the framework. It is not the universal basic income or citizens dividend. We have to attack the framework.
Just some random thoughts while I've been sitting here listening to some of the points and stuff. I feel like one of the hopes that at least I feel, and I think Shane feels based on his talk, is that culturally we don't really have a very entrepreneurially strong culture in society because we're not really raised that way from, preschool, primary school, high school, uni. The whole thing is like, get a job, get a job, get a job, get a job, get a job. And like, you're put into your box and you're forced to think that way, and you're climbing the ladder and all that, and is perceived by everyone in society and the politicians and everyone and your parents as like a good, noble, that's what you do with your life. You climb the ladder, which is terrible in my opinion. But it's hard to escape. I've always considered jobs to be like the modern day equivalent of slavery, as much as that's can't really say that too much, but yeah, it's you get the basic gist of what I'm saying. So one of my hopes is that basic income will help kind of eventually over many years or over a few years will trigger more of an entrepreneurial type culture, because obviously we don't want to just give everyone a basic income and end up like what happened with the whole Kevin Rudd, giving everyone $900. We don't want them going out and just being consumerist whores, which is kind of what our society does. It's like, you get more income, you spend it. You get more income, you spend it. You get more income, you spend it. And I've seen this in so many people, even throughout uni. I remember me and a mate. So like up until, well, my little story is like up until I was about 16, 17, I was like, yep, I'm gonna get a job. I was really good at maths, so I'm gonna be an actuary because they earn like 150 grand a year. That'd be sweet. And then I finally met